Texas's 4-down flameout. I mean, complete flameout. With first and goal at the Ohio State half-yard line is the only reason they ended up losing in the college football playoff to Ohio State and AT&T Stadium. The overreaction is people think that's the only reason they lost. That's the overreaction. Reality. Oh, it mattered a lot. It's so screwed up on so many levels. It mattered a lot. And I will tell you something. Yes, from experience, it will haunt most people involved. But it's not. Okay, here's the reality. It's not the reason Texas lost to Ohio State. I'll reframe that because I think Ohio State beat Texas, and I think they would beat them pretty regularly if they played regularly right now. They played 10 times. I think Ohio State beats Texas 8 or 9. It's not the 4-down flameout is not the reason they lost. There's a lot to say about it. Trust me, there's a lot, and none of it's nice. But here goes the reality. I think Ohio State is the better team. Ohio State deserved to win. Just let that set in. Put that out there. If it helps you tolerate the 4-down flameout at the half-yard line, then that's fine. But the 4-down flameout is not the reason Texas lost. Apply, for instance, take a look at the game. It's hard now. Of course, the 4-down flameout is easy to focus on. But take a bigger view of the game and apply what I call the sweat equity test to the game. And the sweat equity test in that game, if you just look at the whole thing, I know it's not easy to do because of the 4-down flameout, but if you look at the whole game and you apply what I call the sweat equity test, you'll notice that almost everything for Texas that night was hard work. It was a grind, man. Nothing came very easy. The Texas plan, and I thought strategically outside of the 4-down flameout, of which we'll be absolutely ripped to shreds, trust me. But Texas's success, especially on offense, came from Quinn Ewers ducking and moving and getting twisted around and chunking balls sideways. And then he threw it to his backs. You know, the backs made a lot of guys miss. I mean, it was just a lot of work to get things going that entire game. They worked really hard, Texas did, to stay in that game. Maybe it makes the 4-down flameout more painful. I get that. But Ohio State's better. It's a better team. I'm arguably much better. So there's that. Quinn Ewers was good at the semifinal. Will Howard was better. That's the quarterback of Ohio State. Surprisingly, he was better. He was patient. The Texas defense, just to take the whole game at a macro, the Texas defense was good. The Ohio State offense is just better. Texas defense did all it could. Had a pretty innovative plan of keeping the ball in front of them, and they did it really well. Ohio State's offense is better. Quinn Ewers didn't play great. He didn't. It is what it is. I think he's underappreciated. I do. He's limited, but they wouldn't be playing on that Friday night at AT&T Stadium if it were not for him to bail them out a few times late in the year. The Texas offensive line struggled in a big way. I'll repeat what I've said all year, said it over and over again. I don't know about UTSA. That's the driving range to me. I don't know. You only know how good you are when you play good teams. I said it over and over and over again, and I was not a buyer in that Texas offensive line, and I'm still not a buyer in the Texas offensive line. I'll take it a step further. I'm not sure their coach is that much of a buyer in that offensive line. It looked chaotic a lot for Texas to be in that game. Okay? Ohio State's better on both sides of the ball. Jeremiah Smith, their out-of-this-world wide receiver, the most dangerous player, obviously the most dangerous receiver in the sport right now. Had you told me he had one catch, I'd tell you Texas would win. There's a lot that Texas did well. They executed pretty well. Will Howard just played really well himself at quarterback. I said at the time on going into Friday's game, I said Ohio State can be dumb at times, and they did that. They had, almost 80 yards in penalties in that game, so they can do some dumb things. I think they enabled the score to be closer than it probably really was in terms of the pattern of play, the flow of the game. There's all that. The difference between the two teams. Here's an easy way to break it all down. Football's never complicated. Maybe now you can hear me more than ever. Never make it complicated. Don't do it. The difference between the two teams showed up on the goal line. The confidence of the two teams showed up on the goal line. Both sides. For context, okay, Texas had tied the game at 14. It's pretty good to keep that Ohio State offense to 14. It's impressive. Just over 7 minutes left in the game. Ohio State has the ball, second and goal, I believe from the Texas 3. Ohio State ran straight ahead over the left guard. Straight ahead. And the running back, last name Judkins, it's weird enough, right? Scored standing up. He didn't get knocked off his feet, running right at Texas over the left guard. From the 3, okay? Keep that in mind. Keep the difference in mind. Okay, the Texas series at the Ohio State 1/2 yard line. There's a bunch of different exercises to go through with this whole play because it's going to define a lot about Texas football. I can make comparisons, by the way, as kind of a Texas football historian. And I even played in a game that had kind of the same effect. But was it Steve Sarkisian's Pete Carroll moment? For those who don't remember that, Pete Carroll's head coach of the Seahawks, go back to 2014, 2015 against the Patriots. The Seahawks have not just one of the best running backs in the NFL. They have the best power back of probably a 10-year period. Maybe longer than that. Marshawn Lynch. It's infamous that Pete Carroll decides to try to throw a slant route against the Patriots. They jump the route. They intercept it. Bill Belichick is genius. And Seattle and Pete Carroll are stuck living with it. The stupid call, the crazy call, all that stuff. So, we can compare and contrast which one was dumber, the Texas series from the 1/2 yard line or what Pete Carroll did in the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. Maybe greater meaning if you're in the Super Bowl. Texas, it was a semifinal. So there's that. But Steve Sarkisian, of course, the only thing that I know of that he said about the series of play calls, he answered during the post-game news conference. I don't think he was grilled, to be honest. I don't think he was grilled as much as he should have been. I'm not sure what all he would have said. His quick answers were, hey, we thought it was going to work. We just didn't block it. I'm not going to say he threw his team under the bus, but he didn't exactly go to bat for them, making it sound as if our guys blocked it right, it all works, which I think is stupid and asinine and just simply not true. But that was his answer, and that's been his answer so far. I think it's crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy. He made the calls that he did. There's only 2 of them that really count. There's only 2 downs to really dissect, and will be dissected for a long, long time to come, and for pretty good reason. But he made the calls on downs 2 and 3 that he did. Forget 4. Down 4 was blown up from the very beginning. It didn't matter at that point. But downs 2 and 3 for Texas at the 1/2 yard line, he made the call he did because he didn't believe his team could push straight ahead and score. Okay? Remember what I said about Ohio State's play from the Texas 3? The guy scored standing up. Okay? The series will be talked about. This series of downs, plays 2 and 3, will be talked about until if and when he were to win a championship. It'll still be talked about as a missed chance. I'm not quite sure it's that dramatic because I think Ohio State wins almost no matter what. But here he goes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you can take this for whatever it's worth. This is Steve Sarkisian explaining quickly in the post-game news conference. I'll say this for the guy. He's always cordial. He's polite. He's well-spoken. He doesn't hide from things too often, but he answered for it in the post-game news conference. Do with this whatever you want.
Honestly, it was awesome. I loved every second of it, and I think these guys would probably tell you the same thing. Was it easy? No. I mean, football is not meant to be easy. It's a tough sport. It's physically grueling. It's mentally grueling. But I wouldn't have changed it for the world, of showing up every morning with these guys and going to work. And playing in some awesome environments and some great games, kicking off the playoff at home against Clemson, to going to Atlanta and playing a double overtime game against Arizona State, and then coming back here and playing against a great team in the Cotton Bowl. So we got to play in some amazing environments this year, from going to Michigan to playing in the SEC championship game, playing at Kyle Field and renewing the rivalry with A&M. There's so many great things that this season possessed that it hurts, it stings right now, but I'm not going to let this one game and a couple plays overshadow what we were able to accomplish this season. Yes, we want to be champions. That's what life is about. You always want to come out on top, but there's so much that we can learn from this season. There's so much to be proud of from this season.
Hey Austin, Jeff Ward here, and I never thought I'd be in an accident and need a personal injury attorney. And then sure enough, less than a mile from my house, I was blindsided. I was injured. My world was turned completely upside down. I called DJC Law and their team took care of everything. I got the best result possible. Don't just take my word for it. They have over 1,000 five-star reviews. So if you're injured, call 512-888-9999 and get your justice at teamjustice.com.